Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? October 14th, fall bite, fall patterns are coming to hold. But tonight I got a guest co-host with me. Nicholas, do a little introduction for yourself.
What's going on, everybody? Nicholas Whitten from Central Florida, better known as Crappie Adventures. We do a little bit of guiding and a lot of tournament fishing down here.
That's right. Tonight, and I've had a lot of people ask over the last couple of months, hey, let's talk about some black crappie some. And that's pretty much all you have down in Florida, isn't it?
That's it. We have to go across the state line about 2 hours into Georgia to find a white crappie.
Yeah, you know, black crappie for me, and we have black crappie as well here on Ross Barnett. But I'd say I probably catch 80 to 90% white crappie. And let me think back. The last 2 days, I haven't caught a single black crappie. Every crappie I've caught
Right.
over the last 2 days has been all whitefish. And I've seen some, but man, they just seem a lot trickier sometimes to get those fish to bite for me. So I'm really hoping to get some tips from you myself tonight on, tackling black crappie. And, we get a lot of guys when you start out crappie fishing and they say, well, that's a black crappie. And that's usually in the springtime. But tell us the difference between a black crappie and a white crappie. Is it just because they're black, or what is actually the differences?
So the easiest way that I know of to tell once you start getting into a place like where you're at and where they have some hybrids and stuff is you actually have to go to counting fins
Mhm.
and counting the spines on their fins and stuff like that. For me, it's pretty obvious in the colors, even on those hybrids. For me, you can still see those vertical bars
Yeah.
if you look at them close enough. I mean, some of them get real tricky, but you can usually still tell those vertical broken bars. But that's really it for me.
Yeah, I mean the most obvious, and I think, and I was probably the same way. Whenever I started crappie fishing, typically everybody starts in the springtime, and you catch a colored up fish, and he's got his tuxedo on, and he's black as a ace of spades, and but sometimes that's actually white crappie males, and they're just in their spawning colors. But
Yeah.
you know, in black crappie, a lot of people refer to them as specks. I know down in Florida, that's probably a
Oh
lot
yeah.
call them specks, and that's what I usually call them around here is actually specks. But they're speckled instead of the white vertical or the vertical bars up and down in them. But
Yeah. You won't see any of that bar on a black crappie.
all speckled.
And talking about the tuxedo thing, you'll hear a lot of people down here and random times of years they'll post a picture of one or somebody will post a picture and you'll see it in the comments. Oh, he's got his tuxedo on.
Mm.
Man, these crappie down here stay black 365 24/7 because of our water. We've got this old dark tannic water and they just stay dark year round. You can't tell by looking at our fish when they're spawning, other than the sores on their fins and stuff like that.
Hmm. Another thing I noticed about black crappie, white crappie, it seems to me that, and I had
Uh oh,
our eyes can sometimes be.
Brad might have left us. I'm gonna start reading some comments here until we get Brad back.
Another
He
difference,
back?
yeah,
There
another
he is.
difference for me that I kind of notice whenever I'm cleaning crappie is the meat's a little different coloration. It's more of a golden color almost.
Yep.
So
It's like a deer or a hog that's been eating corn all their lives. It'll
okay,
get that yellow fat on it almost looking, especially in a little piece of fat that you peel off the fillet. It'll be real dark on a black crappie compared to all the whites I've cleaned.
now I've never noticed a difference in taste. I don't know, somebody might be listening tonight, watching at home might could tell the difference, but I've never been able to tell the difference between, hey, this tastes like a white crappie. And
Yeah,
it would be interesting to somebody actually put it to the test and see if you could taste the difference. I'm sure
that
somebody's done it, but I haven't.
that was one of the things I couldn't wait to do when I finally got to venture out of state and catch white crappie was see if they tasted different. They taste like a crappie to me.
Yeah, I mean, it tastes. I think I will one day just put two different ones to see if there's actually a noticeable or any kind of difference at all. But I don't think there is. Maybe somebody
I,
else. If you have tried that, and let's comment and let me know. That's very interesting, though.
I think you'd have to be an awfully picky eater to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, that's true. But for you, and let's go into this like this fall time. And I know this past weekend you had a great tournament down there, and all blackfish, I'm sure. But how are you going about targeting these black crappie? And we kind of face things probably different compared to white crappie in the fall. But
So I can actually break that tournament down real well. We had 2 terrible days of practice, but in those 2 terrible days of practice, I did find a dock in 5 foot of water. It was the deepest dock I found on this lake. The deepest spot in this lake, in Florida, all of our lakes are a bowl, was about 14 foot deep, 15 foot deep was the deepest spot in the lake. So I had all my eggs kind of in the dock basket because that was the best thing I found. Well, we got to the dock that morning, and Coach and I went to scratching our heads because those fish were gone. There wasn't a fish under this dock. I don't know why they left, but they weren't there. So we just kind of backed up and punted and struck out across the middle of the lake, hoping for the best, and stumbled across an area probably the size of 2 football fields that had a lot of fish in 13 foot of water laying right on the bottom. You could just barely see them. Couldn't tell how big they was or anything, and you had to. I was casting to them. I couldn't catch them long poling. I cast to them and let a 32nd ounce jig with a itty bit get down close to their heads and pop it, quiver it a little bit, and when they reacted, just start reeling away from them real slow. With that being said, most fish that we caught that day, we had to present a bait to them 5 to 9 times to get them to react.
mm-hmm. Hmm.
So these fish down here in South Central Florida really haven't started putting their feed bag on yet. They're still kind of finicky late summer, early fall fish. They haven't quite fired up yet.
Did you notice any kind of water temperature during this past weekend down there? Or
So we've had a couple little cool downs, and the water's down to 79 degrees,
mm-hmm.
which is actually kind of unusually cool for us this time of year. It's usually around 83 to 85 still this time of year.
Beginning yesterday, I noticed our water got around 78, and I did pay attention this morning when I got on the water, and it was around 73. So we're gradually going down as well. That's probably, I don't know, it sounds like about 5 to 6 degrees difference, but not a whole lot. But um, for me,
Sometimes it don't take much to get them kicked off.
yeah, I mean, hopefully, I felt like last week our lake was kind of in a turnover stage where I mean those fish, the water was mixed in the cooler and the warmer water, and the thermoclines dissipated, and they were really funky. And the bite's getting better. I mean, day to day, it's getting better now for me. But one question before I get to my today's bite, I'll lead everybody on for a second. But I know you said the itty bit, but what color was it down there? I did. I
Thump.
wanted to think about that.
That new thump color was the best. The
Yeah,
water
that's
was pretty the water was pretty dingy in that lake, and I'm probably unorthodox when it comes to this, but I try to match the color of the fish. If them fish are real dark, I'm gonna use a darker color bait. Those fish on that lake were super light colored. Some
mm-hmm.
of them you could barely. They were almost white. They look like a white crappie with no bars, is what they look like. They
Yeah,
look kind of like a grenada fish.
yeah.
Um, so I went with that lighter colored thump with that little bit of dark back, and it seemed to do the trick.
For me, that color right there, I think, and I don't know if I've got any in here with me. And I might. I don't know. We look for a lake, but describe everybody at home that if you're not familiar with that color, what does it look?
It's got a dark back to it, kind of. I don't even know what you would call that color, and then kind of a lighter color shad belly almost is the best way I could describe it. Kind of a two tone, almost a shad color.
What was that again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I say it's a two tone, kind of a dark back, almost a shad color on the back, and then a whiter, light color belly.
Yeah. And I'm gonna dig into my today's bite fish report here on Barnett, and I kind of touched on a second ago about I thought the lake was in a little turnover, funky stage last week, and I was catching fish on timber and stumps and structure, and also suspended. But over the last 2 days, I've noticed that the fish on the structure were probably would catch. I don't know. I'm gonna say 1 out of 10 pieces of structure, and some of them have multiple fish on there. They're just really sluggish when it comes to be on structure. Now, we really concentrated on open water suspended fish in the river channel. And in our lake, we have the river channel that goes right through the center of it, or right through the lake itself. And as it's getting colder, these fish are really starting to concentrate in it. But anywhere from the ledge and about 15 foot of water all the way up to about 30 foot of water, they were suspended. Some singles were really the best fish to come across. If I could see them out there suspended by themselves, those fish definitely were going to react. Now, they might miss the bait, they might come up and look at it and turn it down, but they were going to react to it and let me know, hey, we're at least seeing it. We're going to eat it, or I'll turn it down. We're
Right.
having to go across a lot of fish and see a lot of fish, but natural colors, monkey milk, the double silver rainbow, uh, that thump's been a good color this week for me as well. And natural colors were really key for the last 2 days. The presentation for me is having the jig sit on them and letting these fish recognize them before I take the bait away from them. Really had to let it sit. And today I've noticed it would take 30 to 45 seconds and literally sitting the bait 2 or 3, 4 inches above the fish while it's sitting there suspended
Hmm.
before it would really recognize it. And then all of a sudden you see it kind of make that little shivering motion. Hey, I see the bait. And then we'd start bringing it up. And either they would follow it up and hopefully bite, every we want them all to bite. But occasionally they would turn down and go away. But I think that's just part of the little funkiness. And for us, man, there's so much shad in the lake. Literally, I'm having to find areas that are not uh, just saturated with bait fish. Uh, I caught one today. Our client caught one today that literally we had a school of shad come through, and we had to kind of pause things. I was like, just keep your bait there. You're in there, but we couldn't see the fish nor the bait
Yeah.
because the shad were coming through so thick. And then all of a sudden the shad left, and I seen the fish, and he was kicked up. Then I was like, all right, the fish sees your bait now. Start raising it, and we wind up catching that fish, even though a ginormous school of shad just swam through all of us. But we're still he wind up catching it, and you're thinking, man, why did that fish bite? What
Right.
difference? And only thing I can think of is just something that they're not used to, maybe like a little piece of candy for them almost.
Right.
It,
Um,
it's great.
if there's anybody in the comments from Florida that's Fish Lake Talquin, they will tell you that Talquin is just like that. It's got a river channel that goes through it. It's one of the only reservoirs in Florida that's got timber and stuff like that. And the shad gets so thick that you can't even see the crappie on live scope. Like you said, you just have to wait
Yeah,
until
wait.
they clear out, and then he'll pop back up. It's like, dang,
Yeah.
and you can catch them. And like you said, it's crazy that they even bite a lure.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I don't know why this fish would ever eat this bait when they just had 600 other that swim right by.
Right.
But I think that's where even like this presentation, is holding there, and they'd come up and all of a sudden you'd be like, I don't know how we didn't hook it. I think sometimes they just get actually aggravated with a bait sitting there, and they're like, hey, you know what? You've pissed me off, and I'm gonna push you out of the way and get you out of my life. So
Yeah.
sometimes I think that's actually what they're doing is just knocking the fire out of them, get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing. Um, a lot of people don't talk about it enough. And the reason I think those fish eat a bait instead of eating those shad, a lot of these crappie will hang out with a gar. And when those
Mhm.
gar go to swiping those bait fish, them crappie are like a scavenger. They're getting everything that gar kills.
Yeah.
So they see our bait and it's something different to them. They think it's something, one of those shads that's wounded that they can get easier than chasing them around. That's a real underrated way to find some fish.
All right. Sorry about that. We're working through it, guys.
That's right.
Working through it. Um, speaking about the gar, I seen a crappie today, and it was back on the back side of this gar, but it was sitting above a gar,
Really?
like right on the top side, on the latter part of it. And I told the guy fishing with me, I was like, that big fish is actually a gar, and it was a crappie sitting on the back side of him.
That's crazy.
That's the first time I ever seen that.
Yeah. I've seen them sit under them a bunch, but never up above them like that.
Well, it was like on the back, right at the back third of that fish. That crappie was sitting right here.
Huh.
I don't, or really, I guess more like this, but it was sitting on that back third of it. Looked like it was facing the same way the gar was. And I don't know. I mean, it's pretty wild. Some things that we see now that I would have never dreamed of before, though.
Yep. That's
Uh,
for sure.
I know we were talking before we went live too, Nicholas. But tell us what's coming up and where you're going.
So this Saturday, or actually Friday, me and my tournament partner, Coach Tim, are headed out to Pickwick for the Midwest Crappie Alliance Shootout. One of the best formatted national tournaments that we have the opportunity to fish this year, and we're going to take advantage of it and go see what we can do.
Now,
150 boat field. What was that?
what was that format? How they're doing things?
So it's a 150 boat field if they got it filled up. And everybody fishes the first 2 days. Total weight, top 25, moves on to Saturday to fish for the championship, and the weights reset to zero for the top 25. The remaining competitors can stay and fish a big fish format tournament on Saturday. They'll take off an hour later than the top 25 and come in an hour earlier than the top 25, and they're fishing for one big fish at that point. But it's a pretty neat format.
Yeah, that sounds pretty neat. I like those kind of, makes it interesting as well. Resetting everything. It would seem like another one did that for a little bit as well. But definitely good luck, and we
Thank you.
want to do it again. When you holding up that trophy, hopefully in the future with it.
That's right. That's right. There's going to be a lot of stiff competition at that one.
Oh yeah, ain't no doubt. Um, but these black crappie, what are some of the ways that you try to get these fish to bite in compared to a white fish in your experience? What do you see some of the difference
The
mainly fishing for black crappie down there?
the biggest tip that I give everybody that asks me, and I ain't scared to tell it. I you can ask people that fished with me and fished against me. I'll throw a bag of baits in your boat in the middle of a tournament if you're struggling. I ain't scared to help nobody. The biggest tip that I give is when you present a bait to us, these black crappie, and they react, if they move any at all, start retrieving your bait away from them and never stop. I can't count the fish that I've had bite 6 inches from the surface, a foot from my trolling motor.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never stop that retrieve. If he acts like he's slowing down, don't pause because he's going to turn and go to the bottom every time.
Yeah.
The whites I've noticed you can get away with a little bit more, or you can actually, the whites that I fish for, you can dead stick a bait over his head. And when he rolls up, he's going to eat it. You don't have to pull it away from him as much as I've noticed these black crappie you do.
I know for me, man, I can just about look and see how they're reacting on the stump and say, all right, this is probably going to be black crappie sitting here. And they seem to notice it, like you said, and they kind of kick up. But for us, for me anyway, is getting that final commitment of these black crappie is sometimes so tricky. Um, one of the things I try to do is use a more, I'm gonna say darker color a lot for these black crappie anyway. I'm gonna use a blacks and the browns and the not as monkey milk. That darker tone. A lot of times for these black crappie seem to help me.
Right. Um, Over the last couple of years, I used to be a fan of bright colors. The guy that tied all my jigs for me, Zach Church.
Mm-hmm.
I used all kind of different bright colors. We'd come up with crazy bright colors, and I caught fish. The last couple years, I've really gone to the more natural colors, like you said, the dark shad color, black back, silver belly. My
Mhm.
grass shrimp color that you've seen that everybody knows about is just a gold hair jig. The natural colors really make it happen for me.
I know I got Mike Lockhart. He's asking, he says, what color jigs will the crappie bite on this time of year? Mike, I think it comes down to profile a lot of days. And last week, I went to a live roamer style, and this week, the funkier bites, I'm gonna downsize. So if you're having a tough bite, I recommend downsizing to these itty bit slab hunters. What itty bit were you using down there?
It was the mayfly.
Mayfly. The
Yeah.
itty bit mayflies. That definitely sounds like a black crappie killer for you guys.
Oh, absolutely. I knew as soon as they released it, and it was going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, and I got one of these little guys right here.
Because I would even when they came out with the regular mayflies, I was biting the heads off of them
Yeah,
and just using the back 2/3.
this is the itty bit mayfly right here. See that little guy. Funky little bites. Black, man, that looks like a black crappie killer for sure.
It is,
All right, guys,
and they've got the new itty bit jig heads out for them too.
yeah, they're going to be awesome to use with it.
Yeah.
224 people watching right now. We got 131 of you guys watching, gals watching tonight. Make sure you hit that like button, thumbs up. We're going to try to hit that 250 mark. So, with a little bit of help, I know everybody can help us attain that goal tonight. Special thanks to Bobby Garland Baits as well. And if you're interested in trying Bobby Garland Baits, look at lurenet.com and use your discount code Crappie Connection 15. It gets 15% off everything of Bobby Garland, well, everything on the website. So can't go wrong. And I can tell you another really good thing about them is shipping. Man, their shipping is lightning fast. I would say you could order it tonight and probably have it by the weekend. So
Yep.
a great thing. Also, we want to hear some fishing report. What's y'all's today's bite fish report? We want to hear about it. Also, I got a report. James, he's saying I fish all blackfish, 75-degree water, fish on structure, or picky with some annoying, some following, and a few taking. Very few roaming singles so far. Agree with Nick on presentation. Uh, really, presentation, even for me this week, has been so key. Another thing, I kind of made a mistake yesterday. Some of our Roman fish are moving, so I kind of left the setup for my long pole, and I haven't used the long pole all summer. I've been casting all summer long, and as this bite's gotten funkier, I've switched over to a long pole. But I made one mistake yesterday that I finally realized. Uh, it wasn't the bait. It wasn't really the presentation, but a mistake that I made that, luckily enough, that didn't cost us the whole fishing day was I had too heavy a sinker above my bait itself, and I was using a right out an ounce sinker, and most of our fish between 12 and about 17 foot deep. So I was thinking, well, let me use that heavier lead to get down to those fish quicker and help the customer stay in front of it, or what have you. But it kind of took away of some of the natural presentation to that bait, even below it. Uh, so I finally sunk into my hard head and was like, hey, let's not only downsize the bait, but let's downsize the weight above it and quit overpowering the bait so much and let it have a more of a natural fall and presentation how it would be. This morning, and I've seen this question come up quite a few times over the last couple of weeks, is I seen the fish this morning hit the weight. As we dropped down, the client actually dropped it below the fish going down, and then he brought it up. And when he's bringing it up, the fish come up and smoked the weight. And then all of a sudden, we get another fish up, and another fish hits the weight again. And I'm like, all right, give me the pole. And I went ahead and moved that lead up about 18, 20 inches above the bait and never had another issue with it all day long today. So those two things, and I was thinking about, hey, what we're going to talk about tonight, and what's some of the things that you guys can actually gain. But that's one of the things that I've almost missed this week was too heavy of a sinker on a slow presentation. Like I said, these fish need to recognize the bait and then respond. So I had to, take off some weight, downsize the bait, but also had to downsize the actual the lead itself. And that was just a mistake that I made earlier on this week.
One of the big things that I do down here in Florida, and I know 90% of our water's a lot shallower than what y'all are fishing out there, but and I have guys ask me, they're like, I'm running a quarter ounce or half ounce weight or whatever above my jig, and the fish won't eat it. So take the weight off.
Mm-hmm.
Go to an eighth ounce jig head, and they'll eat it. Now we're fishing usually less than 10 foot deep, so that makes a big difference. You ain't waiting on it forever to get down there. But I can't count the times I've tried running a weight above my jig on a long pole and get that fish to follow it to the top and he not eat it. Turn around and grab another pole that don't have a weight above the jig and catch that same fish.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's that the water's just clear enough that they can see that weight, or it makes the presentation wonky to them. It don't look natural, or what. But I have a hard time catching them with a weight above my jig down here.
I can definitely understand that today was our last 2 days. It was a difference, but for me, I just had to move it up because those fish were recognized, especially if you accidentally dropped them below it. They smoked that, but also helped me key in on the color. I think it was like, all right, they're definitely seeing this gray lead head.
Right?
So I mean, we know they're gonna hit it. So definitely have some kind of natural tone on there, but Tim Smith, he said, fish to res Saturday, caught fish on structure on edge of river channel and ditches off of it. Tim, I probably know where you were thinking of. Lucky milk tip with a minnow. You don't need that minnow there, Tim. I know Tim will.
Minnow lives matter.
Minnow lives matters, right? Yeah. Uh, Fish with Fergie, Central North Carolina Fish Report. It's epic, focusing on main channel points down Lake Still and Brush in upper 60-degree water. Light stains, some fish starting to roam, and plenty of 2 pounders in both patterns. Stumps, rocks, brush, ledges are holding fish now here. Catching them on jigs. 1/8 of our minnows right on with the right one. Cold front slowed down the bite 2 days, but 50-degree nights have them chewing. You know, I think we're going to see these fish reports increase more and more as this water kind of gets down in this temperature, and they really want to start fattening up. But you guys down there doesn't your winter is really not all that long for those fish, is it?
Yeah, it's long, but we don't have that drastic drop in temperature, and it stays down for a long time and all that. And our fish down here, the temperature drops so gradual. We don't have that big push of fish out to a river channel or anything like that. These fish just do what they're gonna do. They they get up and get moving and get to feeding, and you never know where you're gonna find them once that temperature drops below about 75 degrees water temperature. There just be fish everywhere. A prime example, I've got a today's bite fishing report. I haven't been up there myself yet, but Lake Woodruff up on the St. Johns River. It's a big lake that y'all probably heard me talk about. The deepest spot in it's probably 6 foot deep, and they are catching the absolute fire out of fish, and they're trolling right now.
What like long line? When you mean trolling, a lot of guys.
Yep, long lining.
For me, the first time I heard about long line and come from Florida. Uh,
Really?
yeah, it was my ex father in law. He was down in I think he lived in Frostproof, and they did a lot of long line trolling down there, and it was like, man, that sounds like a really cool way to fish. But describe what we mean when we mean long line, and that's some guys not even.
So my setup is I run three poles out each side in the front, starting with 16s, 10s, and 12s, and then I run sixes and eights out the back. And I usually run 60 foot of line with a single 32nd or 16th ounce jig on it with a curly tail or a shad body, and just troll it. 1.2 is my favorite speed. That's where I like to be.
Yep.
And that's Lake Woodruff right now. As shallow as it is, I'd be running 30 seconds at 1.2 and probably smoking them.
Yeah, Papa Hunter, he says, got my PB yesterday, long line and jigs, southern Michigan, near Ohio border. All fish caught in 9 to 12 foot of water, 1/8 ounce Roadrunner and strollers. He talking about the Bobby Garland strollers right there, working way up there in Michigan. But what was your PB, Papa Hunter? We want to hear that, man. You left out. And what color was the stroller? I know you know. Okay, all right.
Fishing report from Corey Singletary in Lake Blackshear. Georgia's been tough the last few days. Fish have came off the structure, starting to roam a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. They've been getting some cooler nights up there. Water temperature's starting to fall, and the fish are starting to get scattered out on Lake Blackshear in Georgia. That's the closest lake to us that has whitefish.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Crappie Hound, he's asking, a lot of guys can chime in on this one as well, but what do y'all use to clean your fingerprints off your screen? For me, I just use a terry cloth, and a lot of times I'll just dip it in the water and just wipe it off a little bit. I necessarily don't have a cleaner in my boat. One, just because I got too many other junk already in my boat. I need to have some probably some days, but
That those The best thing for me has been, and I don't even remember what they're called, but they're a sunglass wipe. They come in the little terrible packages, little square package like a wet towelette.
yep,
You can get those and wipe that joker off, and it'll be crystal clear.
yep. I use those too. Usually have some of those stuck in the dash or somewhere.
And the biggest thing for me ain't fingerprints. It's when the dew dries up from the morning and I've got all those water dots all over the screen. I got to get them things off.
A lot of times too, even fish splashing around, you'll have that water kind of come back from the net or
Yep.
the fish or line or whatever, but it's splashing back on the screen. Gary Scott, he's asking me how do I like my new C deck in my Ranger, and Gary, I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love it. Got rid of the carpet and got C deck installed on my boat, and knock on wood, man, I think it's helped even with sound. And I went ahead and got the thickest C deck that they offer. I've got the millimeter thickness, but it's the thickest one. But I think it's actually dampened down the sound when we walk or do something in the boat just because of that thicker pad. Right now, I'm very pleased with it. Working man, he says, always upsize to a bigger size if they start hitting the weight. Works for me. That's a good tip as well. What's the best bait for Reedy? LOL.
Hell, Mike Studstill, I seen that. He knows what the best bait was.
Yeah, I don't. Is that the lake y'all fish down there as well, or?
Yeah, it's actually in Frostproof, the town you just talked
Oh,
about. That's
really?
where that lake is. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. Small world. It's a fairly small lake. It's probably less than 5,000 acres, if I had to guess.
Corey's asking, so what's the water temperature in the area? Corey, I noticed this morning for me was 73, and by the end of the day, around 76. So it was about a 3 degree change for me.
Yeah, it's been 79 to 82 down here in Central Florida where I'm at.
Doug, fished Truman Lake in Missouri yesterday. Fished the lower main lake, brushed 15 to 25 foot of water. Caught a nice limit on DNS custom brush buster jig tip with minnows. Water tip low 70s. So we got a lot of water 70s around. Mr. Jackson, 73-degree water. Caught him on Roman fish on structure. Could not reel away from the fish fast enough if you wanted to. Caught them in 10 to 20 foot of water. Head tied squirrel tail jigs and a 164th. Man, that's a small little.
Dang. That's
That's a,
when it's fun, though, when you can just burn it and you can't get it away from them and they're eating. Man, that's the days we all dream of.
and I think too, if they're biting and they want it that fast, that's a good time to troll. And a lot of people,
Absolutely.
when's a good time to troll? If those fish are aggressively running down those baits, that is a perfect time to try long line trolling. I'm ready to do some trolling. I'm hearing some reports of some guys doing some long line and having some success in the area. So I got my poles out last week actually and getting them ready to go. Uh, here's Papa Hunter, he said, chartreuse stroller. He said, 15 inches my PB. This is first year chasing crappie. Awesome, man. Glad to hear that. Uh, I give you a warning, man. It's addicting, though.
Yep. Yep. Once you start, you ain't gonna want to stop if you get serious about it.
Yeah. The Zeiss cleaner. That's right.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was talking about, Laura.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. I get a lot of people down here to ask me, people that come on guide trips and various things wanting to learn. And I tell them the reason I started fishing crappie tournaments was to get myself out of my comfort zone and go learn new lakes and learn new tactics and all that. And once I got into it and got better at it, like you said, it's addicting.
It
There's
is.
really no end to it.
That's kind of even with me. I started fishing some tournaments too. I don't know how many years ago now. I hate to say it, but started fishing some tournaments and like, all right. And this question is always get asked as well is, well, where do you go on a new lake? And you know, luckily now we actually have a lot of lake maps for your
Yes.
units. Without those, man, it's a whole lot harder. But luckily enough, now you've got lake maps to kind of give you some areas to focus. But and even live scope. I mean, now you can throw down the live scope and say, all right, let's check some shallow water and know for certain if there's fish in there, and or go look for open water suspended fish. But it's definitely changed the game on how I look for fish. But
Yeah.
what's your
One
best
one of the
this week?
one of the biggest tickets for me going into a new lake or a new body of water that I've absolutely never been to is the Navionics app.
Yep.
I'll do that and I'll use Google Earth Pro and go back through the years, especially on the lakes up north where they do drawdowns and stuff like that. You can go back in the dates and see that lake at different times of year and actually find structure that way and everything else.
What are some of the things that you just, and I know this, this tournament's coming on and we don't have to talk about it, but and you touched on it as far as that the lake levels, but what are you kind of looking for?
Just knowing what I know about what stage the fish should be in that part of the country, I'm going to be looking at points, creek mouths, stuff like that, where them fish should be staging up, getting ready to feed, and then move into their winter pattern. Because, in my opinion, I think they're going to kind of be in a wonky phase right now. The water temperature really hadn't plummeted to get them in a winter pattern, and they're still going to be a lot of fish in a late summer pattern. Is
Mhm.
what I'm thinking going into it. I could be dead wrong.
Yeah, and even this week, I mean, looks like a pretty good cold front system coming in is going to
Yep.
even make that water go down even lower. I think I seen some highs next week in 70s. So, and Pickwick up there is going to be a little higher than we are. So I think you might even hit some 60-degree water going up there next week would be my guess.
Yep. And like I say, all the tournament results, I can't find a tournament unless it was a small local tournament that's been this time of year on Pickwick for crappie. So I think it'll kind of be a new playing field for about everybody,
Hmm.
even some of the locals as far as the tournament goes.
Marty's got a Central North Carolina report. Big fish are in the mud, 3 to 6 foot of water. Poundfish still piled up on structure or brush, starting to see more roamers. Water temp roamer as always. Stained so black and yellow, wearing them out. Stained so black and yellow. He's talking about the color of jigs. Um, Nick, if you had to say, let me give you your top three crappie colors, what would be your top three colors that you would always want to try for fishing black crappie?
I'm probably gonna hurt. I'm probably gonna hurt Bobby's feelings here, but it's gonna be three hair jigs. One being my number one being grass shrimp, and then a little white shad looking color. I don't know. We don't even have a name for it. It's just basically a white hair jig. And then my next one would be one that Zach calls Tropicana. It's a chartreuse tail with like an orange body and an orange head. That's that's gonna be my 1, 2, 3. If they
Hmm.
don't if they don't hit them first two natural colors, I'm putting something bright down there.
Yeah, that's color. That mud dauber I've been using it a lot the last couple of years here, and it's similar to Cajun cricket. You know, that Cajun cricket's always a really good color too for me.
Yep.
James asking, he says, Nick, I want to fish black shear one day. Where is a good ramp and how should I approach it? Slash best part section of the lake.
Ooh, I haven't been there much. I've been there twice. Um, and we put in. There's a state park right there close to Flint River Bait and Tackle. I think that's 280 that crosses the lake right there. And kind of mid lake is where I would start. And I would work my way north, upriver, and check. And if I run out of fish, I'd start heading back towards the dam. That's what I would do.
What would be one of the trophy lakes in Florida for black crappie or specks or what have you?
Ooh,
If you want to let that
it
cat out of the bag.
no, it's no secret. Rodman is probably the best. They're drawing it down this year, so it'll be real interesting to see what comes out of it for the boats that can get into it during the drawdown. That only happens like every 5 years. Um, but it's got 3 pound caliber fish,
Mm-hmm.
and really, and it still goes back as part of the St. Johns River. It
Mm-hmm.
flows into the St. Johns River. Anything associated with the St. Johns River, probably from Lake Monroe north, you is your best shot at a trophy class fish. Um, Talquin, the last couple of years, Talquin has really showed out as far as size goes. Um, it's getting back to what it used to be as far as size goes, and they're catching a lot of 2.5 pound fish, up to 280s. I can't say that I've seen a three come out of it yet. You know, usually every year there's a few threes that come out of the St. John's. It's about guaranteed.
Yeah.
But those would be my top lakes for a trophy fish.
And that just confirms my wish list one day to get to fish St. John's. That's always those fish. The pictures of them just look remarkable, just beautiful. Oh,
Yeah, they're
but
always dark. Like I was saying, they're always dark, and they've got that certain times of year, and you're always going to catch one or two, but they'll have that dark gold look to them,
mm,
rather than the more green white belly look. They'll have that gold hue to them. They're just real pretty fish.
you know, and you mentioned earlier about this grass shrimp, and I've actually had that a similar pattern up here with fish, and I think they're feeding on grass shrimp on our river system. But how much do you think those fish down in Florida actually eat grass shrimp?
So grass shrimp is a huge deal down here. There ain't a lake in the state of Florida that isn't infested with grass shrimp. And actually, on the St. Johns River, what they contribute the size of those fish to is you actually have a saltwater full size shrimp run on the St. Johns River all the way down into just about Lake George some years. And that's what they contribute the size of those fish to, is that they gorge themselves on shrimp.
Hmm.
Um, so whether it's grass shrimp or actual saltwater shrimp, there shrimp is a big part of our fish's diet. Like Lake Reedy, for instance, there was very few, if any, shad in that lake that I seen in 3 days of fishing it.
Hmm.
So those fish are living on grass shrimp
Hmm.
and mayflies when they hatch and stuff like that. But predominantly, you can catch a grass shrimp year round in a dip net.
You know, and like I said, I think I noticed this 2 years ago, and it was actually I won't say late winter that I noticed a lot of fish feeding on the bottom, and really what I thought they were feeding on was on grass shrimp, and I picked up and started putting on a clear bait. And you probably like Nick even said you'd have to kind of bounce it off the bottom, and I kind of thought of how a shrimp would I thought move along the bottom and seeing how those fish were feeding because a lot of times I'm like, man, these fish almost look like they're looking down as they're traveling along the bottom,
Yep,
looking
like
at food.
they're shoveling.
Yeah, I mean, they look like almost a catfish that they're looking for something on the bottom, and that's when I switched to a clear bait. But are your grass shrimp? fairly clear, or what color are they?
Yeah, they're fairly clear. They'll get that gold hue to them, that yellow looking gold dark hue to them. And when they get full of eggs, they'll actually get a black belly. You can see the egg sac in their belly because they're translucent.
Mm.
But that's what they look like. And if you'll notice, when they're feeding like that, if you'll put you two or three of them in your live well, at the end of the day, you'll have shells, little shells and pieces of muscle and all kind of stuff in the bottom of your live well that they've spit up or crapped out or whatever. And that tells you that they're feeding on something off the bottom. That's the only place they're going to get those shells from is off the bottom.
Hmm. That's pretty neat. But yeah, we have, especially in the river system, seemed like, when that's one of their diets. And it was white crappie as well, eating those grass shrimp right off the bottom. Um, but I think of Florida, I think of, that's a lot of guys talked about grass shrimp through the years.
Yeah, especially during the spawn. When they move into the grass and start spawning, that's about the only jig I'm going to have tied on.
Hmm.
Because that's what's up there in the grass with them where they're at is grass shrimp. And they're going to eat it 9 out of 10 times if you get it close to them.
Mr. Roy, he said he caught fish at the weather station area on structure on threadfin shad and thump. That's the thump color we're talking about earlier. Uh, and the natural color as well, the threadfin shad. And that was Ross Barnett. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Hmm.
Corey uh, got another fish report. Saturday, your temps seriously dipped. Fish are grouping up, but the dip in water temps met had to downsize a bit. A 1/32 ounce Marsula tackled dream jig in a 1-inch minnow style destroyed them. 8 to 12 foot of water. Hmm. He says, learn to turn your forward facing sonar off once you locate them and your catch rates increase. I would not totally doubt that, especially fishing on the bottom. I think that once you got those fish and they're feeding on the bottom, bouncing a jig off would be deadly. I kind of feel like these fish are starting to feel that pulse of side scan as well, and we're catching the dumb ones and leaving the smart ones behind. Why don't
Yeah. And they're all the fish are just getting a lot more pressure now than they ever have because of it.
they?
You know, those schools that we used to have to ourselves in certain areas, somebody else has found them now, and they're getting beat on. There's a lake 5 minutes from my house that I can't even guide on because the 3 or 4 brush piles that are out there that I usually fish have a boat sitting on them about 5 days a week now. So,
Mm-hmm.
and those piles would have never been found if it wasn't for a live scope. I
Yeah,
say that they would have been found, but they wouldn't be catching the crappie off of them like they are now without live scope.
it's there's no more secrets on lakes. I can promise you. I see people. That's yesterday. I moved spots, and I was like, all right, I got 2 or 3 spots in mind. And as I was going up the lake, I was like, all right, there's a boat there at that one.
Yeah,
And go up a little further. Oh, there's another boat in that other area. And for me, one of the things that I try to do is I try to fish that are not being molested by other guys. I hate fishing behind people.
right.
Um, it's just you're getting to those pressured fish, and it's kind of like hunting in an area that gets a lot of hunters. That's ideally not an area I like to deer hunt either.
Yep. There's a few of us in the tournaments, the local trails, that have got to where we can ask each other 3 or 4 questions, and we'll know if we're fishing the same stuff or not. Know if we need to go the other direction to stay off everybody. Um, it gets to be pretty comical.
Black Rain, he said he finished painting his truck, but he's the fish are in trouble, man. Got to see a picture of that truck there, Mister Black Rain. Let's see. Come on down here. Right now, guys, got to give you an update. 224 people watching. We got 222 likes, so we got about 30 to go to hit the golden light for 250. So I know you guys can help us hit that mark. You do every single week, so that tonight's gonna be no exception. I know.
Right. And I'm way prettier than Dustin. Come on, y'all.
True. That's true. That's definitely true. Dustin texted me today. He's elk hunting this week.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, he hasn't killed anything because he would have sent me a picture. I know. So
They
undoubtedly he hasn't been successful yet, and as you guys know, we'll definitely hear all about it next week.
That's
Whether
right.
whether
Hopefully he gets one.
yeah, hopefully, and I think he's going on another trip in 2 weeks. So I mean, we got a
I
different.
have I have people ask me back when I was hunting a bunch, you don't want to go elk hunting? I said no, I ain't got a house big enough to put his head in.
That's true. That is definitely true. Elk meat is delicious. So if he
It
kills,
is.
he needs to share it with a lot of us here.
That's
So
right. He better have you some steaks ready.
we got to come up with something to prank him though next week. So y'all help me out a good way to prank Dustin next week when he comes back to help us out. Got to have a little bit of fun with this. Let's see.
James Lynch is asking about long lining right now. What size jig or crankbait type of plastic?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm gonna say it all depends on where you're at. Down here in Central Florida, I would about be willing to bet up there on Lake Woodruff they're trolling 1/32 ounce jigs with a stroller or some type of curly tail plastic.
Mm-hmm. It kind of depends on the depth. If I was going to long line on Ross Barnett, knowing how deep the fish are, and I would be pulling 2 1/8s. I troll. Um, you get a little bit more tangles, I believe. But for me, I like using 2 jigs. At least in my vision, I feel like it gives double the disturbance as it's coming through the water, the flash, the vibration. It just doubles it up and helps those fish locate those jigs as they're coming by. My favorite speeds, just like Nick said earlier, is going to be that 1.2. I heard here lately some of these guys that are long lining pulling as fast as 1.8, 1.7. So they're some of these guys are baking these jigs, and some of them are even pulling like double 30 seconds at 1.7, 1.8, and you're pulling that fast with that smaller jigs. I mean, they can't be no more than 2 foot deep.
Yeah.
Um,
And I get that from what I've seen down here in Florida at certain times of year. 90% of the fish are within 3 or 4 feet of the surface.
and a lot of guys, you'll make the mistake going too deep. One of the things that I noticed a tip several years ago, before live scope was really a thing, when I would pull, I would always run my down imaging and my side image as I'm long lining. But I was marking a lot of fish, I'm gonna say 7, 8 foot deep, and really wasn't doing all that well that day. And I'm like, well, what is the deal? And I'm sure I said it on the podcast too before, but I noticed somebody fishing off of a dock, and they were using a cane pole. But when they lifted that fish up, I was like, man, they're only fishing about 2 foot deep. And I'm like, well, all right, what could possibly be going on here? Only thing I figured out is we were running over those fish, they were sinking down. They were going down, and then as the
They're
baits
coming back up,
they were coming back up, so I was fishing too deep for them,
right?
and I was using my knowledge off my down scan. So I sometimes fishing too deep is definitely the
Yeah.
easy to do.
And the theory I have, even if that fish is sitting 6 foot down, if he's in feeding mode and the water's semi clear where he can see a bait within a foot or so of him, you can have that bait up above his head quite a bit. He's going to feel it and see it and hunt it down if they're in feeding mode.
Mm-hmm. We got that right. We got the 250 mark. Just hit it. So thank you everybody for hitting that thumbs up and like button tonight. We get our goal. And so we got a few more minutes, so we're gonna keep on. If you got any questions
Yeah.
about crappie fishing, please throw them out there. We'd love to help you out, guys out.
Oh, Frank the Tank Shack said Lake Woodruff ain't much deeper than that. He's right. About the deepest spot in Lake Woodruff is 5 foot deep. So
God,
you got to keep them baits pretty high in there to catch them.
man, Frank, I hadn't seen you on here in a long time, man. I'm glad you joined us tonight. We always like these guys that fish a lot of tournaments and guide a lot to come on here and comment. And thank you everybody for coming on to today's bite. Make sure you hit that like and follow button. Subscribe as you will. We're getting on every day, chumping away on numbers. It's been a little slow for me and I hadn't put out as many podcasts as I normally have. as everybody know, I'm doing a big remodel at my cabin in Lake Washington. So when I'm not guiding, I'm doing construction work. And for me, I'm really slow at it. I'm not like a fast remodeler kind of guy. So I've been really taking my time on trying to do things right up there, but cannot wait to show you guys the end result when it might be a couple months from now. So you got to make sure you hit subscribe to see how it's going to turn out. But
That's right.
uh,
And that's for me guiding. Yeah, if anybody wants to book a guide trip, my dates are going to be very limited this year and early next year. I've become a hog farmer. These kids decided they wanted to get into FFA and show hogs, so that's taken up a lot of my time raising hogs and taking them to hog shows and stuff like that. Most of my weekends are ate up, but we'll have some time to run some guide trips if anybody wants to go.
oh, throw out your number for
863-873-4797. Crappie Adventures on all social media platforms.
them. What lakes are you at primarily?
I tell everybody I fish from Lake Istapoga to the north end of the St. Johns River. There's days that I'll drive an hour and a half to put my boat in the water to run a guide trip. I try to stay on the best bite possible. When one lake turns off, we'll go to another one wherever we got to go to put our clients on the best fish. Or if somebody's wanting a trophy trip, we're going to the St. Johns River. I really don't limit myself to one lake or the other.
We got some more stuff coming in. Corey, he says, "What's your favorite bait to use during the ice season?" You know, Corey, I love to ice fish. That is on my bucket list as well. I have never fished on the ice, but that would be very cool to do. So, what's your favorite bait? I mean, I know you've got that answer for me. So, what's your favorite bait? Let's see, I got another one. Fish with Fergie. What is everyone's experience with LVS spooking or shutting down uh, as you sit on a pile versus boat noise, trolling motor, etc.? Is pulling 15 fish pile off of a pile spooking more than electronic interference? That's a lot. That's a big one. Um, for me, I think boat noise is probably spooks them faster than anything else. A boat slap. Uh, I noticed more fish, I think, really getting spooked off from boat slap more than anything else. Now, do I think this LVS and different electronics, some of them are wising it up to them? And some days are worse than others as far as that goes. But if you got a bad boat slap, I think it's going to spook them every time.
And in my opinion, and I've talked to Eric Cagle about it and everybody else, if you can catch, especially blackfish, I don't know about whitefish as much, but especially blackfish, if you can catch 10 to 15 fish off of one school of or brush pile of fish, you've done something. You may as well move on and find you another one, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Frank, he said he found his Crappie Connection hoodie. Well, about time, Frank. We need to see some pictures with you in that hoodie, man. Um, Jeremy said him and Courtney put the beating down on slabs yesterday afternoon. Love to hear that. I hope you guys doing well. I love seeing y'all Snapchats and all the things you send. So keep up the good work with that. It's awesome.
Jesse Brown said, on upland reservoirs, where do black crappie go in the summer? They are predominant in the winter, but seem to disappear between May and October. Jesse, I wish I could help you with that, but I don't have much experience on upland reservoirs. There's some lakes like that down here, Lake Okeechobee, for instance. From October till March, Ray Charles could just about go catch a limit of fish. The
Mm.
rest of the year, I don't know where they go. I don't know if they just get out there in the middle of that big old lake and hide out or what, but you just about can't catch one.
One of those. Do you think those fish or feel like those fish get a lot of nocturnal whenever it gets that hot down those shallow lakes?
They could be just, and I think that happens a lot where they just shut down and lay on the bottom and they're not feeding or doing anything, and they come up and feed at night. Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of our shallow lakes around here, you get those 100-degree days and that water's in the low 90s, and I think a
Yep.
lot of fish have learned, hey, let's just wait until it cools off in the afternoon or early morning to feed. that's I really think that on these shallow lakes.
Yep.
um Mike, he says Lake Talcon has been a tough bite. Plenty of fish on brush piles and structure. They are following, but not committing. Like I said earlier, Mike, for me, one of the things that I needed to do this week was even downsize my lead sinker above it. So if you haven't done that, I'd give it a shot.
Mike likes casting a bunch. If it's the Mike, I think it is. I didn't get to see that comment, but he's usually a caster. I might would try a more vertical presentation on some of them fish. Try pitching on them with a long pole. Don't pull that bait away from them so fast.
Let's see. We'll make sure.
Kevin Wiley, yes, I'll be at the Pickwick Shootout. I'm leaving this Friday, headed that way.
There he goes. I guess Kevin's going up there as well. Tony's asking, so what's your personal best, Nick?
289 on a or 285 on the St. Johns River, January a year ago.
January a year ago. What bait color was
A grass shrimp jig and lily pads and 3 foot of water.
it? God.
The day before one of the biggest tournaments in the state of Florida. I put her back real gently and fished for her the next 2 days during the tournament, and she never bit again.
Oh my.
I should have just kept her and mounted her and been done with it, but
My personal best off Sardis was the day before tournament. It was like a 305 on Sardis the day before tournament. I will, and I can tell you where it was right at Clear Creek, and a lot of guys that fish Sardis going to know what I'm talking about. Right on this east side of it, along that swim beach. I
they.
remember it like yesterday.
How'd you catch it?
We were long lining, long line.
Long lining.
It was the day before the tournament, of course.
It never fails.
It never ever fails. Well, definitely good luck this week. We can't wait to hear how it goes up there.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate everybody joining in tonight. We hit our goal. We got 262 likes, thumbs up between the two platforms. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, follow. We're here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And Nick, we're going to have you on again.
All right. We'll see you then.
All right,
Y'all
guys.
take it easy.
Holla. If I can hit it there.